everybody, it's Janae here. I am here to read a little bit of Joel's book, Joel Osteen, Think Better, Live Better. This book came out in 2016. It's a really good read, and I just wanted to share a little bit with y'all. So the very beginning of the chapter, it's called Reprogram Your Mind. It says, our mind is like a computer. How we program it is the way we're going to function. You can have the most powerful computer ever made. The latest and fastest model with the maximum amount of memory available. But if you put the wrong software in it, it's not going to function as it was designed. We've all had to deal with computer viruses. They can get into a perfectly good computer and start to contaminate the software. Before long, the computer is slow. Then you can't process your files. None of these problems occur because it's defective or poorly made. The computer's hardware is fine. It's because somebody reprogrammed the software. Somehow, the insides got messed up. Now the software is contaminated. In a similar way, when God created you, he stepped back and said, another masterpiece. Your hardware is perfect. You're the right size, the right nationality, and you have the right gifts. Not only that, God put the right software in you. From the very beginning, he programmed you to be victorious, healthy, strong, and creative. Your original software says you can do all things through Christ. He programmed whatever you touch will prosper and succeed. He programmed you are the head and not the tail. You will lend and not borrow. You are a victor and not a victim. You were programmed to live an abundant, victorious, faith-filled life. That's how your Creator designed you. The reason we don't always experience these abundant life is that we've allowed viruses to contaminate our software. We say to ourselves, I'll never be successful. I'm not that talented. I'll never break this addiction. I've had it long enough. I'm slow, clumsy, and unattractive. Nothing good is in my future. Because our software is infected, we go around with low self-esteem. We're negative. We don't believe our dreams will come to pass, and we don't expect problems to turn around. Here's the good news, though. There is nothing wrong with you. Like that computer, you're not a mistake. You're not defective or faulty. The problem is in your software. You have to get rid of the virus. All through the day, dwell on what your Creator says about you. I'm blessed. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I'm confident. I'm attractive. I'm valuable. I'm victorious. You have to get back to your original software. If your thinking is limited, your life will be limited. When you think better, you live better. So that's the first little bit with Joel Osteen. So I can move on forward and go to the next chapter to kind of give you some idea what that's about. So the next chapter is titled Remove the Negative Labels. As a teenager, Walt Disney was told by a newspaper editor that he wasn't creative and he didn't have a good imagination. Lucille Ball was told that she didn't have any acting skills, that she should try a different profession. Winston Churchill was not taught as a good student and twice failed the entrance exam into the Royal Military College, Sandhurst. The common denominator in the success of these people is that they chose to remove the negative labels. Because they thought better than what others said, they lived far better than the labels had read. It's the same way today. People are constantly putting labels on us, telling us we can and cannot become, or what we do or don't have. Many times these labels are not in agreement with what God says about us. If we don't know any better, we'll wear them like they're the truth. The sad thing is that if we keep them on long enough, They'll become so ingrained in our thinking, we'll become what people had said rather than what God has said. I met a gentleman who was told by his high school counselor that he was not that talented and should focus on the lowest skill job he could find. The counselor stuck a label on him: below average, barely getting by, not talented. He wore that label year after year, thinking, I'm not that smart. I just don't have what it takes. After high school, he got a job at a local factory and stayed at the lowest level for years, just as he'd been told. One day, the factory closed, so he went across town and applied at another factory. This company had a policy that every applicant had to take an IQ test. He took the test and his IQ score was assessed at the genius level. The owner called him in and said, What are you doing applying for this low level position? You scored the highest of anyone in our company's 3-year history. That day, a stronghold was broken in this man's mind. He removed a label that had held him back for 17 years. He eventually started his own company and went on to invent several products that are now patented and in the marketplace. As this man did, if you are going to rise to the next level, you have to remove any negative label that that are holding you back. To live better, you need to think better. Has someone convinced you that you've reached your limit and gone as far as you can go, or that you've made too many mistakes? You're all washed up. You'll never accomplish your dreams. You don't have the resources. Don't go through life wearing any of those labels. People don't determine your destiny. God does. So that's that for the second chapter. And on the third chapter, let's see here. The third chapter is titled Release the Full You. Inside each of us is a blessed, prosperous, victorious person. This person is free from addiction and bad habits. This person is confident and secure, talented and creative, disciplined and focused. But just because this person is in you doesn't mean he or she is automatically going to come out. This person has to be released. The Apostle Paul gives us the secret in Romans 12:2. He says, Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In the original language, the word transform is metamorpho. It's where we get our word metamorphosis. We know how caterpillars metamorphose into butterflies. Paul is saying that if you'll get your thoughts going in the right direction and not dwell on negative, condemning, not able thoughts, and program your mind to what God says about you, then a transformation will take place. When your thoughts are better, your life will be better. Think about the caterpillar, the little worm-like larva that starts off as one of the most unattractive insects. It's very plain, nothing really special about it. But God predestined it to go through a transformation. At a certain point, it forms a cocoon and metamorphosis starts to take place. It's a process. Little by little, it changes. One day, it begins to push out of the cocoon. A leg comes out. Then a wing comes out. Soon, its head comes out. Before long, it's totally free from the cocoon. It is transformed from being one of the plainest insects into one of the most beautiful, colorful, and graceful, a butterfly. Instead of having to always crawl and squirm around on the ground, it can now fly to wherever it wants to go. In a similar way, we all start off as worms, so to speak. Our thoughts, without being restrained, naturally gravitate toward the negative. We think, I can't take that promotion. I'm not qualified. Or I'll never rise much higher. I come from the wrong family. Or I've made too many mistakes. God could never bless me. You know what these are? Wormy thoughts. But just because we start out that way doesn't mean we're supposed to finish that way. God has predestined us to go through a transformation from a worm-like larva that crawls and barely gets by to a beautiful butterfly that soars. Here's the key. It's up to God. Here's the key. It's not up to God. It's up to us. The only way to release your butterfly is to get your thinking in line with God's word. What will keep you in your cocoon? I'll never lose this weight. My business isn't going to get off the ground. I'm not a good parent. These thoughts will keep the full you from coming out. You have to realize there is a great parent already in you, just waiting to be released. If you're going to see a metamorphosis take place, you have to be convinced that in me right now is a great father, a great mother. I'm going to renew my mind to get this person out. You may be struggling with an addiction, but in you right now is a person who is totally free. You may be down in your finances. Business is slow, but in you right now is a person who lends and does not borrow, who is the head and not the tail. If you will keep renewing your mind, agreeing with what God says about you, it's just a matter of time before that person comes out. When thoughts tell you you're never going to change, it's never going to get any better, just tell yourself, I'm being transformed. My metamorphosis has already begun. That's how you release the full you. I know people who have incredible talent. They have so much to offer, but they've never gone through their transformation. They're allowing the same negative records to play in their mind all day long. It's time to come out of your cocoon. God is ready to take you to a new level. He's ready to release a new wave of his favor. Now you have to rise up and say, that's it. I'm done thinking wormy thoughts. It's time for me to be transformed. I know I'm forgiven. I am redeemed, talented, creative, and disciplined. I am well able. That's not just being positive. That's renewing your mind. When you do that, I can see part of your wing coming out. I can see your legs breaking through the cocoon. You keep that up, and before long, you'll release the full you. You'll be transformed into a beautiful butterfly, soaring to places you never dreamed possible. So that was chapter 3. And there's one more I want to read, chapter 4. It says, think yourself to victory. Studies show that we talk to ourselves up to 30,000 times a day. There is always something playing in our mind. The scripture tells us to meditate on God's promises. The word meditate means to think about over and over. We need to pay attention to what we're meditating on. Meditating is the same principle as worrying. When you worry, you're just meditating on the wrong thing. You're using your faith in reverse. If you go through the day worried about your finances, worried about your family, worried about your future, because you're allowing the wrong thoughts to play, it's going to cause you to be anxious, fearful, negative, and discouraged. The whole problem is what you are choosing to meditate on. You control the doorway to your mind. When those negative thoughts come knocking, you don't have to answer the door. You can say, no thanks. I'm going to choose to meditate on what God says about me. Today, there is a lot of doom and gloom. If you watch the news very long, you can get depressed. The stock market, the economy, the debt crisis. One phase I observed in several newspapers was total fear in the marketplace. People are panicked. Some people go through their entire day thinking about how bad it is, asking themselves, I wonder if I'm going to make it. What if I lose my job? What if my retirement funds go down? If you dwell on these fearful thoughts, you're going to be stressed out. I like to watch the news, but I've learned not to meditate on the negative reports. Philippians 4:8 says, think on things that are wholesome, things that are pure, things that are of good report. If it's not good report, don't dwell on it because it's going to poison your spirit. Instead of relying on doom and gloom over and over, replay what God says. Yes, the financial situation may be a little shaky, but God says He will supply all your needs. He said He will prosper you even in time of famine. He said He will open the windows of heaven and pour out blessings that you cannot contain. Go through the day meditating on that. Get your mind going in the right direction. After all, the economy is not our source. God is our source. Our trust is not in the stock market or in the economy. I say it respectfully, but our trust is not even in the government. Our trust is in the Lord. David said in one of his Psalms, some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but our trust is in the name of the Lord our God. I'm just going to stop there. I thank you guys for spending some time with me on this afternoon. Again, this book was written by Joel Osteen in 2016, and it's called Think Better, Live Better. I recommend this to people who have a desire to renew their mind, have stinking thinking, wormy thoughts, as Joel would say. And this book will definitely help guide you through changing that. So I recommend it for sure. All right, well, that is it. That completes the day. Let's try to think on those good thoughts, get rid of the negative, wormy thoughts, and know that the best is yet to come. Stay positive.